Every day, millions of people wake up believing that today will be different. They tell themselves that this will finally be the day they start writing that book, building that business, going to the gym, learning a new skill, or taking the first step toward the life they've imagined for years. The plans are already there. The ideas are already there. The dreams are already there. Yet somehow another day passes without anything changing. So they make themselves another promise. Tomorrow. Tomorrow they will have more energy. Tomorrow they will have more confidence. Tomorrow they will finally feel motivated enough to begin. At first it feels harmless. Waiting for the right moment seems like the sensible thing to do. Why begin when you are tired? Why start when you are distracted? Why not wait until you feel completely ready? But the days quietly become weeks. The weeks become months. Before long, people are no longer waiting for motivation. They are waiting for a version of themselves that never seems to arrive. This is one of the greatest illusions of modern life. We have been taught to believe that action follows motivation. First, we must feel inspired. First, we must feel confident. First, we must feel ready. Only then, we believe, can we begin. But what if we have believed the order backwards all along? What if the people who build extraordinary lives are not the ones who wake up feeling motivated? What if they are the ones who choose to begin, even when motivation never arrives? To answer that question, we first need to understand what motivation really is. If you think about it, almost everything around us teaches the same lesson. We are told that success begins with inspiration. We celebrate the moment someone feels motivated enough to change their life, but we rarely pay attention to what happens after that feeling disappears. Without even noticing, we begin measuring our potential by our emotions. On the days we feel excited, we believe we can accomplish anything. On the days we feel tired, distracted, or uncertain, we quietly convince ourselves that today is simply not the right day to begin. It seems harmless at first. Waiting feels responsible. Waiting feels logical. We tell ourselves that starting tomorrow will somehow produce a better result than starting today. But tomorrow arrives carrying the same doubts, the same fears, and the same excuses. So another promise replaces the last one. Another perfect day is imagined. Another opportunity quietly slips away. The strange part is that this cycle becomes so familiar that we stop questioning it. We begin to believe that motivation is something we must find before we earn the right to act. The longer we wait, the heavier the first step begins to feel. A task that once looked simple slowly becomes intimidating. Not because the task became harder, but because hesitation grew stronger every time we chose to postpone it. Over time, waiting stops being something we do. It starts becoming part of who we believe we are. We begin saying things like, maybe I am just not disciplined enough, or maybe I am not the kind of person who follows through. That is the real cost of waiting. It doesn't just delay progress. It slowly changes the story we tell ourselves about who we are. But what if the problem was never your potential? What if it was never your intelligence, your talent, or your dreams? What if the real problem is much simpler? What if we have misunderstood motivation from the very beginning? Motivation is one of the most misunderstood forces in our lives. We speak about it as though it is something we can store, protect, or summon whenever we need it. We wait for it to arrive before we begin, and when it disappears, we assume something is wrong with us. But think about the last time you felt completely inspired. Maybe it was after watching a powerful speech, finishing a great book, achieving a small victory, or promising yourself that this time would be different. In that moment, everything felt possible. Your goals felt clear. Your energy felt limitless. Then life happened. Work demanded your attention. Problems appeared. Your routine changed. You became tired. The excitement slowly faded, and the same task that seemed so easy only a few days earlier suddenly felt much harder to begin. That isn't because you became weaker. It isn't because you suddenly lost your potential. It happened because motivation was never designed to stay. Like the weather, it changes. Like the tide, it rises and falls. Like a flame, it burns brightly for a while before growing quiet again. The mistake is believing that something so temporary should carry the weight of our greatest ambitions. We expect a passing emotion to build a lasting life, and when it cannot, we blame ourselves instead of questioning the belief. So perhaps the real question is not how to become more motivated. Perhaps the better question is this: what can you rely on when motivation inevitably disappears? Long before motivational speakers, productivity systems, or self-help books, there were people facing the same struggle we face today. They also woke up tired. They also experienced fear, doubt, frustration, and uncertainty. They understood what it meant to want something meaningful while not always feeling ready to pursue it. Among them were the Stoics. They observed something that most people still overlook today. Human emotions are powerful, but they are also temporary. They change with success and failure. They change with the weather, with our health, with our circumstances, and sometimes for no clear reason at all. So they asked a simple question: if our emotions are always changing, why should our actions depend on them? That single question changed everything. The Stoics believed that waiting to feel motivated was like waiting for the wind to blow before deciding where your ship should sail. The wind may help you, or it may work against you, but it should never be the thing that decides your direction. Instead, they focused on something far more reliable: choice. Not the choice to achieve greatness overnight, but the choice to do what needed to be done today. One conversation, one page, one workout, one stone placed upon another. To the Stoics, every meaningful life was built in exactly the same way, not through extraordinary bursts of inspiration, but through ordinary actions repeated with extraordinary consistency. A builder does not lay every stone in a single afternoon. A sculptor does not reveal a masterpiece with one strike of a hammer. Every structure that survives the test of time is created through countless small actions that, on their own, seem almost insignificant. That is why discipline is so different from motivation. Motivation asks, how do I feel today? Discipline asks, what needs to be done today? One depends on emotion, the other depends on character. And over time, character builds what emotion never could. When most people hear the word builder, they imagine someone constructing a house or raising a bridge. But building has never been limited to bricks and stone. A builder is anyone who chooses to create something that does not exist yet. A teacher builds the future of a classroom, one lesson at a time. An artist builds meaning from a blank canvas. A programmer builds ideas into reality through thousands of lines of code. A parent builds character through countless small conversations that no one else will ever see. Their work looks different, but the principle is always the same. They do not wake up every morning overflowing with motivation. They wake up with responsibilities. They show up because the work matters, even when the excitement has faded. The writer still writes another page. The craftsperson shapes another piece of wood. The athlete completes another training session. The engineer reviews another drawing. None of these actions seem extraordinary on their own, yet together they become the foundation of remarkable achievements. This is what the Stoics understood so clearly. Great lives are rarely built through dramatic moments. They are built through ordinary actions repeated with patience, intention, and consistency. Every small decision becomes another stone. Every completed task becomes another beam, supporting something larger than today's effort. Progress is almost invisible while it is happening, but over months and years, those small actions become impossible to ignore. The people we admire are not always the most motivated. More often, they are simply the ones who never stopped building. There comes a point when discipline no longer feels like a struggle. Not because the work becomes easier, but because your relationship with the work begins to change. You stop asking yourself whether you feel motivated today. You stop negotiating with your emotions every morning. Instead, you simply begin. The decision has already been made long before the day even starts. This is how character is built. Not through one extraordinary act, but through hundreds of ordinary choices that nobody else notices. Every page you write, every workout you complete, every promise you keep to yourself becomes another piece of the person you are becoming. Over time, those choices begin to shape your identity. You are no longer someone trying to be disciplined. You become someone who naturally does what needs to be done, whether you feel inspired or not. That is the quiet power of consistent action. It transforms discipline from something you force into something you live. The habits you repeat become the standards you refuse to compromise. And without realizing it, you stop chasing motivation because you have built something far more dependable. You have built character. Perhaps tomorrow morning will feel exactly like every other morning. You may not wake up overflowing with energy. You may not feel inspired. You may not suddenly become fearless, confident, or certain about the path ahead. And that is perfectly normal, because the builders who leave something meaningful behind were never separated from everyone else by endless motivation. They were separated by a quiet decision they made over and over again. They chose not to let their feelings decide whether the work deserved to be done. Some days they moved quickly, some days they moved slowly, some days they questioned themselves, some days they wanted to stop, but they kept placing one stone after another. One page, one conversation, one workout, one lesson, one decision. None of those moments looked extraordinary on their own. In fact, most of them probably felt ordinary. They were small enough to be ignored, repeated so often that they seemed insignificant. Yet those ordinary moments became extraordinary lives. The bridge is never built by a single stone. The sculpture is never shaped by a single strike. The forest is never grown by a single seed. Everything that lasts is built through patience, consistency, and the willingness to continue long after the excitement has faded. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I'll start tomorrow," ask yourself a different question. If motivation never arrives, what kind of person will you choose to become? Because in the end, your future will not be built by the days you felt inspired. It will be built by the choices you make when inspiration is nowhere to be found. And perhaps that has been the foundation all along.